Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining our session today, Introduction to Zone Reporting for NetSuite. My name is Jim Doyle. I'm a solution consultant here at Zone, and I work specifically with our Zone Reporting product. I also have deep NetSuite roots. I'm a certified admin, an ERP consultant, have been in the NetSuite space for a while, including working for NetSuite directly as a functional consultant, supporting across several different industries. So very familiar with NetSuite and the key areas of reporting that we unlock by extending it to Power BI. Many of those we'll be covering today. So here is our agenda. I'll start by giving a quick overview of who we are at Zone & Co. and what's included in our Zone Reporting solution. Then we'll spend the majority of the time today in the demo walking through a couple of our key report libraries. After that, I'll be sure to save some time for Q&A, but feel free to send questions through the chat at any time as we're going through this. So since Zone & Co. was founded, it's been our goal to make life easier for finance teams by accelerating the development of groundbreaking cloud software built on the NetSuite platform. We're a registered SDN partner. We have employees all around the globe, and we all live and breathe NetSuite. And we're all united in our mission to enhance the NetSuite platform with our Zone apps. Zone apps are designed to automate and consolidate critical financial data and workflows across business entities, from order to cash to accounts payable, payments processing, and more. Here at Zone, we really focus on providing world-class customer service. So we have several teams committed to your success in different capacities. Our customer success team drives this initiative, and they really help bridge the gaps between all of our other supporting teams. You'll notice we also have teams that support our partners during implementations. We have teams that implement and activate our own products, a product development team available for any customization work, frontline support to provide timely responses to support cases, and finally, our Zone University, which is our online knowledge base to ensure that you feel empowered to manage all the different apps that we provide. And we provide these services globally across several different countries and time zones. You can see those numbers there, always making sure our customers are successful in getting the most out of NetSuite. Here's a list of our major Zone apps that we offer currently. These cover a wide range of accounting and finance processes from, again, AR and AP automation to approvals and reporting. Right? Today, we're going to be covering ZoneReporting, which provides pre-built NetSuite reporting within Power BI. So let's get into that ZoneReporting. So here is what's actually included in ZoneReporting. First is that NetSuite to Power BI connector. This is our automated process for extracting all your NetSuite data via Save Search. This connector supports daily or throughout the day refreshes, and it's optimized for performance. And because it's Saved Search-based, it's really easy to use. The second piece is our common data model. This is the heart and soul of ZoneReporting and is really unique in the marketplace. It took us over 3 years to build, and it includes a full ETL process and complete replication of your NetSuite data in Power BI that reconciles to the penny with your ERP. So you're getting all your transactions at the line level, all your key record types. We have pre-built time dimensions and time intelligence, so you can do trended and comparative analysis, all your KPIs, and everything is going to link back to NetSuite. And then we're also able to connect and bring in additional data sources. We do Google Analytics and AdWords out of the box, but there's hundreds of pre-built connectors for different CRMs, HRIS systems, SQL database, even just a spreadsheet. Really, the sky's the limit when it comes to integrating additional data sources. Since we're doing all of this modeling in Power BI, we aren't handcuffed by any NetSuite limitations. And then there's going to be our starter pack of pre-built reports. We have over 50 at this point. These are reports that, based on our experience working with NetSuite customers, we've been asked for over and over again. We're going to walk through a couple of these libraries here in a minute. Some of them are going to apply and you'll use out of the box. Some you may choose to modify and personalize. Think of them almost like templates that you can configure. We just want to give you a base foundation to get you off the ground running start to see some ROI. And then from there, you can always build your own or continue to tailor and optimize the pre-builds. And then you'll also have the ability to embed these reports back onto your NetSuite dashboard. If you want to work out in NetSuite exclusively, maybe that's your ERP users, you do have that option. So you'll still be able to see those reports, including those containing data from other data sources, all back in NetSuite. So it really becomes your single source of truth. And then we'll also set you up with our flexible budget template. So you can bring in as many versions of your budgets and forecasts as you want. So if you have your budgets in Excel already, which a lot of NetSuite clients do, it's really easy to bring those in. So you can do your budget versus actual variance analysis for all those different forecast and budget scenarios. And then finally, Power BI training. So that's a 4-hour Power BI workshop and our on-demand video library that you'll have access to during and after implementation. So to sum up, before we transition into the demo, what our solution provides and what really differentiates us is all your data, unlimited joins, and expanded flexibility, all in a single enterprise-wide reporting platform that integrates your data sources and can be used across all your departments for everything from strategic financial reporting to daily operational dashboarding, all in Power BI, which is an industry-leading best-in-breed BI solution, and it has a ton of advanced analytics features that help you answer actual business questions, along with automations to get those reports published and distributed in a controlled and efficient manner. So let's take a look. And I'm actually going to start the demo in NetSuite itself. So I'm on my NetSuite dashboard. Only going to spend a minute here. I just want to point out, like I mentioned earlier, we can embed these reports, even though they're built in Power BI, we can embed them back onto a NetSuite dashboard if that's where ERP users would like to see them. They're still going to be dynamic. I can slice and dice. I can have multiple tabs. I can even bring in those external data sources. So here we're bringing in some Google data, which, like I said, we connect to out of the box. So I can view web activity, my multicolor bar from Google versus NetSuite financial data, revenue, all blended. So I can make sure that there's that positive correlation we'd expect. So even though I don't have a direct integration between NetSuite and Google, because that Google data is being brought into Power BI, now I can blend it with my financial data and reports and even display those back in my ERP, really getting the best of both worlds. And that's just one way of viewing these reports. Another option is to view them in Power BI itself, which is what I'm currently logged into now, just switched over to Power BI. And I'm logged in through the web application. So you can just see through a browser. And I'm logged in using a unique user ID that governs my permissions and access levels, similar to NetSuite's role in user-based securities. So this is all Power BI, all my navigations here. I can see my pre-built reports on the left, and we'll go through those in a second. But first, I'm going to hit edit to put myself into report building mode, because I want to spend a couple minutes discussing our data model first, which we now see exposed here on the right. And I like to start here because this data model is really core to our solution, and it's what makes us unique. Took over 3 years to build, certified by both NetSuite and Microsoft, and what we've done is replicate NetSuite's data model right here in Power BI, and then built a connector to bring in all the key NetSuite records and fields under the appropriate tables. So I've got my chart of accounts, my class, department, location, all my entities, so my customers, right? My items. If we're using projects or ARM, we're going to have those tables here, all the way down to the transaction line. So we bring in 100% of your transactions at the line level, plus any custom fields, custom records that are relevant to reporting. We'll make sure to bring those in as well. And everything is going to reconcile to the penny back to NetSuite. And then from there, we can take your additional data sources. So here I have some Salesforce tables. For example, we have our own connector for Salesforce CRM, so I can bring those in. Here's those Google tables. We saw those earlier on the NetSuite dashboard, but again, sky's the limit. And we'll actually integrate those data sources right into the NetSuite data model so you can build reports that combine elements from all those sources instead of leaving that information siloed. And then finally, the model includes hundreds of pre-built measures. And what measures are in Power BI are the formulas and definitions for business metrics and KPIs. So these are how we convert that granular NetSuite data back into the language of business that we see on a dashboard like this. And we have financial measures for AR, AP. These are just some of the categories, P&L measures, so I can look at COGS, expenses, gross margin, revenue, units sold. We have time intelligence measures, so we can do all sorts of different trended and comparative analysis right out of the box. Right? We have inventory measures. So for those product-based businesses, we have cycle time analysis. We have inventory KPIs around turnover, months on hand, turn earn index, statistics around historic purchasing and supply chain costs. So we can start to analyze those different costs. So a good amount of reports in here for inventory businesses. And then SaaS, software companies shouldn't feel left out. We have SaaS measures as well to look at things like contracts, customer growth, KPIs, churn, LTV to CAC, deferred revenue, recurring revenue. So we can look at ARR, MRR. So again, there's hundreds of these measures, and these are how we consume that NetSuite data and turn it into a pretty dashboard like we see here. So if I wanted to, for example, build a report from scratch, just so you can see how the data model works, I'm going to build out a report to answer some basic questions around our top 10 customers. So I'll start by going to my customer table, and I'll pull in my customer name. And so this is going to give me a list of all my customers right from NetSuite. See that load? So here's all my customers. And now I'll go up into my measures, and I'll pull in my P&L measure for total revenue. So now we've got all our customers, total revenue. At this point, I can convert it to a different form of visualization. Power BI offers a ton of them. I'll just turn it to a basic chart. And then from here, I can filter it. So we'll just focus on those top 10 accounts. We'll look at our top 10 customers by total revenue. So now we've got those large accounts displayed here in descending order. But maybe I want a bit more detail. Maybe I want to see the items or the services that they're purchasing, or I want to see it on a monthly basis, not just totals. Well, I can copy and paste this, and I'll convert it to a different type of visualization so we can start to capture that detail. So we'll convert it to a matrix, still have total revenue for top 10 customers, but now I'm going to add in a measure for units sold. So we'll also look at units sold. Then we'll also look at gross margin. Now I want to see this, which is totaled, broken down by items. What are the different products they're purchasing? Well, I go right to my items table, and I can pull in, I'll start with class. We'll see the class breakdown, and then within those classes, the individual items. And then my last step would be to add in some time intelligence so I can see this on a monthly basis. So if we minimize our building tools there, I can see our final product is month over month, units sold, total revenue, gross margin for our top 10 customers. I open the customer, I can see the classes, and then within the classes, I can see the individual items. So this would be units sold, total revenue, gross margin for this fan being sold specifically to this customer, Bird Books. And so because the unlimited joins in our data model connect everything, it's really easy to roll these reports up and down by all those key dimensions or segments that you capture in NetSuite, whether it's location, subsidiary, sales rep, territory, even custom fields for item attributes, maybe on an item record. You can roll these reports up and down, slice and dice by those as long as you're consistently capturing them in NetSuite. So that's how our data model works. It can also be used to modify the pre-builts. So you can duplicate the pre-built reports and then create your own versions that are a little bit more tailored, is the other alternative versus building from scratch. And so let's go ahead and take a look at some of those pre-built reports. Starting with our financial overview. This is a report that we hear from executives all the time. I can't see something like this until the end of the month, or it takes a couple days to build whenever I ask for it. So we provide it out of the box. Health, top 10 customers, items, classes, trended income statement, and some KPIs. And if I click on any of these values, it'll filter the page. So clicking on system, I now see my system revenue for top 10 customers, my top system items, trended income statement, KPIs for just that class. So this is a good way to look at your key dimensions and just get a snapshot of your overall health. Now we can also get more granular. We've started to roll out flash reporting. Here I'm looking at daily and weekly sales and shipping trends, both in dollars and in units. And so I'm able to identify disruption and bottleneck in the days and the weeks versus in the months and the quarters after it's already cost me money. So don't just think of us as a strategic financial reporting tool. We can also, get in the trenches and do that operational reporting as well. And there's a ton of ways to get these reports out of Power BI. Here we're looking at a revenue waterfall, so change in revenue by class. And I'm able to export this to Excel. I can embed these reports live into PowerPoint. This will actually create a living deck that has the reports I need in it. And the reports are still dynamic. The reports will refresh. And so I can just save this financial review that we look at monthly to SharePoint, and anyone can access it whenever they need it. And they're always going to get the latest and greatest. So we have that living document. So that's a pretty popular feature. We can, of course, create PDFs. We can share these reports with digital links, chat with them in Teams, create email subscriptions, which will send out reports on a scheduled basis to individuals. And then there's also a commentary tool. So you can comment back and forth and tag colleagues, and they'll get an email with a link pulling them to the report so you can collaborate and discuss it. So just a ton of ways to communicate as you're building and refining these reports, and then automating the distribution in a controlled way. So you can get these reports in front of the people that need them to make decisions. Okay, our next group of reports, I'm going to hit groups of reports now. These are our top line analysis reports: volume, revenue, COGS, and margin. And I like to use volume and revenue analysis as a good example of how we get all the data working together to uncover insight. Because typically, when you're doing volume and revenue type analysis, you've got 20 reports, right? You're going from page 1 to 5 to 10, back to 7, and you're trying to find all these different correlations. Versus here, we get everything working together on one page. So I can see, for example, okay, for all our classes, for all our products, our average revenue per unit is $677. Well, down here, I can see we're selling a ton of this card product class. I want to learn a little more about it, so I'm going to click on it. And when I do that, it filters the page. So now we see for this class specifically, we're above average revenue per unit, so good value. We've got a consistent revenue per unit trend. So this is a predictable, high value class. We're already selling a ton of it. So I love this class, but we've barely penetrated into our top 20 customers. So this could be an upsell or a cross-sell opportunity. And that's the idea with these reports is, again, because we're dynamically getting everything working together on one page, we can really use this to make decisions and uncover insight. We want these reports to be actionable for you. In this case, identifying a cross-sell or an upsell. Okay, this next group of reports, these are our key segment analysis reports. So these are the key segments that we provide these dashboards for out of the box. You can always create your own segment analysis pages depending on what's important to your business. But using customer as an example, I can look at profitability data for all my customers, groups of customers, or if I select a specific customer, we get that instant customer level monthly P&L data, units sold and gross margin. So again, just quick access to profitability data in this case, for customers. And then if I want a 360 view of my customers, I can use this analysis page to look at just a ton of different KPIs and margin and volume trends, total gross margin, top 5 items for all my customers, groups of customers, or I'll click on Bird Books, and we filter the page to see statistics just for Bird's Books. Give you a 360 view of that customer, our entire relationship with them. And these reports are also drillable. I should have mentioned that earlier. So if I hover over any of these bars, I can see, for example, our total revenue for Bird Books for January is $387,000. Well, when I right click, I can actually drill through to the line level detail. And this is going to return the transaction lines straight from NetSuite that are summing to that 387,000 amount. And it looks like a saved search because our connector saved search based, but we can actually see the math in those transaction lines. And then we also have hyperlinks that will drill back into the transaction in NetSuite. So I can actually drill into the journal entry, the vendor bill, the invoice right from here. This is also how we know that we're reconciling to the penny, right? We do an income statement, balance sheet in NetSuite. We run it in ZoneReporting, reconciles to the penny, and then we can always drill down and see the detail. So we provide similar analysis for items, right? Classes, subsidiary, sales rep, territory. Again, that's just a starting point. And then we also have report pages for accounts receivable, accounts payable, and you can get some of these KPIs out of NetSuite, DSO, turnover ratios, 30, 60, 90 mixes, but you're dealing with a couple different searches and reports that maybe you're stitching together. We just like to put everything, again, on one page for whoever's managing that process. And then by extension, we can also help with cash flow forecasting. Here's a weekly view. We might want to look at it monthly. We could do both. And we're bringing in all those inflows, those outflows from NetSuite, giving you that planned ending cash balance by month or by week. And then as far as financial reporting, so income statements, P&Ls, and balance sheets, we're a lot more flexible than NetSuite's native financial report builder. Most NetSuite clients are having to dump into Excel so that they can build out these different views of their financial reports, depending on who wants to see it, who's the stakeholder. What we want to do is get those formats set up once, and then you have them available to you automated whenever you need them. So we can do something like this, where we're looking versus previous month, versus trailing 12 month. We've got full dollar, percent rev, dollar per unit. So very specific managerial view of an income statement analysis. And we can, of course, do other types like this. And this would be impossible to build just with the financial report builder in NetSuite, but we can do it in Power BI. We provide a couple other versions of that, all the way to just a plain vanilla customizable income statement. And then we also can do budget versus actual analysis. So here is where we'll set you up with that template. So you can bring in your budget and your forecast data. You can toggle between those versions and see your variance analysis against your actuals from NetSuite. So this budget column, that's coming from our spreadsheet template we set you up with versus actuals from NetSuite. And then we round that out with a customizable balance sheet as well. So we give you at least a monthly view and then can always configure or modify from there. And you see subsidiary slicers, just a note, we support all one world, multi-subsidiary, multi-currency. We bring in exchange rates from NetSuite, so we can do all your consolidated reporting, just like you do in your ERP. I'm going to check and see if there's any questions real quick before I hit the high points in our SaaS and our supply chain library. It doesn't look like we have any questions, so I'll go ahead and keep pushing. So we also have a pre-built report library for SaaS. This is going to cover things like active customers, MRR, LTV to CAC ratios. So here we see a SaaS financial overview, where I can see some of those different SaaS KPIs trended, and I can filter it by date range. I can filter it by revenue type. How's my consulting doing versus my software, right? Subscriptions versus licenses. We even have measures for cohort analysis. So you can analyze groups of customers based on when they onboarded. NetSuite doesn't know what a cohort is, but we can define those here so you can analyze that. And then we can, from there, look at revenue analysis for items that use deferred revenue or generate deferred revenue. This is always a challenge when clients are using ARM. They're going to have RevRec journals, and that RevRec journal doesn't have an item on it. So how do you do revenue by item for those items? Well, because we have unlimited joins, we can connect that RevRec journal back to the revenue arrangement or the revenue element, and then all the way to that original transaction that does have item detail, customer detail, thereby unlocking this type of analysis, which you wouldn't be able to do in native NetSuite just because of the join structure, some of those limitations. And then we also have cohort waterfall. So this is looking at, again, quarterly cohorts and how they're performing on certain SaaS KPIs. And the story here is for net revenue retention, I can see that our cohorts are falling off at that 6-month mark, both here, and then I see a similar trend here. So maybe that's a go live date or a range when clients will be going live. And so we can focus on that and make sure we fix it for that next cohort where it does look like we're able to keep that net retention high. So this, again, is just allowing you to look at a waterfall view of how your cohorts are performing on various SaaS KPIs. And we can also visualize things like churn by cohort as well. And then last but not least, certainly not least, is our deferred revenue waterfall. This is essentially a credit balance, your deferred revenue account, and this is broken down by customer. So we can see that beginning balance, we can see any credits from additional billings or revenue recognition events, right, that would be reducing that balance all the way forward, right? This is a monthly view by customer, and we can look at it, by different segments as well if you need to. We've had software companies that have basically invested in the product just for the ability to generate these deferred revenue waterfall reports. It's such a manual task for a lot of clients. And then moving over into our supply chain library, here we're going to be looking at inventory KPIs, inventory status, cycle times, vendor analysis. These are going to be reports for product-based businesses, starting with something as simple as inventory value. So here I can see inventory value broken down by item type. Where do we have cash tied up? Is it raw material or is it in finished goods? Or if I'm manufacturing, is it WIP, by location, by class? So this just lets me visualize my inventory value, right? And then we also have key ratios around things like turnover. So here I can see turnover ratio, GMROI, profitability, inventory months on hand, and turn earn index. And these are, again, functions of each other to a degree. But when I start to cycle through my locations, I can see who is driving the trends that we see at the aggregate. So these slicers help with that. We also can calculate things like sell-through rates. So here we have 4 different calculation methods for sell-through rate. There's always 10 different ways that clients want to calculate it. So we do 4, but we can always adjust that if there's a specific way that you want to calculate sell-through. And then cycle time analysis. This is one of my favorites, and there's a bunch of different reports that look at lead times, cycle times. I like this one because it's the most granular and I think it's the most actionable. Here on the left, we're looking at our purchase orders and the percentage that we're receiving on time, in full, and on time and in full. And that's based off the expected receipt date on the line level, which is the plan date. So ultimately, we're able to understand, based on the plan, how reliable our suppliers and our vendors are. we see these rates start to drop. Maybe that's a conversation with a vendor, or maybe we just need to adjust our lead time expectations so that we make sure that we don't have downstream impact to our customer service, right? And then on the right, we can see similar data for our sales orders. So what percentage of sales orders are we fulfilling on time, in full, and on time and in full? And you can look at this by location, get an understanding of your efficiency there. And then we also have the ability to look at historic purchasing. So here we're looking at historic amount purchased. We could also look at it for units, and we can see by vendor, by item, a bunch of different KPIs. And if I click on a vendor like Stevenson Custom, I can see, here's the 2 items that we've purchased from that supplier. Here's some, again, purchasing and prior year analysis, cost per unit trends. We actually have a whole page dedicated to cost per unit purchased. So I can come here and I can look at that same card item, and maybe it's a totally different picture when I look at it from a cost per unit purchase standpoint versus just total amount purchased. Maybe I want to go with a different supplier in this case. So we just want to equip you with as much information as we can so you can make those decisions. You can have those strategic sourcing discussions, or you have ammunition to go get yourself some better rates if you have multiple suppliers for an item. And the last few here, we have open order pages. So here I can see all my open purchase orders. We've got 223 lines of them. I can see that by vendor, by item. So I could click on a vendor here, Flores Enterprises, and see we've got 10 lines on order with them by item, both quantity and amount. So this is a good page if you have any questions about open purchase orders. And we also provide the same view for sales orders. So here I can see our 329 open sales orders. And we can view this by customer, by item. If I click on the item, so here we've got this assembly item, I can see of the 51 lines that have that on order, who's it going to? Here's the customer list for that assembly item. So this can help you, again, understand your open orders and prioritize customers and items as you see fit. And then we also have item analysis. This is an operational view of our items versus the financial analysis in our financial library. So I can look at specific classes or individual items, and I can get metrics like inventory status, mostly in this column, or sell-through rate, weeks of stock, days out of stock. We have a measure for stock out risk, so you can understand your exposure from that standpoint, looking at historic demand trends and weeks on hand and things like that. So this is, again, a good 360 view of your items, whether you want to drill into a single item or look at trends for groups of items or for all your items. And then last report I'll hit is our projected future ending inventory report. This is all about demand and supply. So I can see a weekly view, could also look at it monthly, for all my items broken down by class. What's our supply? Supply is typically going to be work orders, purchase orders, transfer orders, all those supply orders in NetSuite that are going to generate inventory versus demand. Demand could be a demand plan in NetSuite, could be a demand forecast in a spreadsheet that we bring in, similar to how we bring in budget data. It could be actual demand in NetSuite, future ship sales orders. And we can accommodate those depending on how you want to look at demand. But ultimately, what we're trying to calculate is that projected ending inventory by week or by month out across your planning horizon, so we can start to be proactive. If we're going to stock out of a high priority SKU in June, I'm seeing that now. I'm reordering now versus waiting for us to go and fulfill an order and the shelf's empty. I can set up conditional formatting and alerts to help me balance that demand and supply and stay ahead of the lead times if I need to make any adjustments. And I think that takes us to the end of the pre-built reports that I was going to show. So these are our three core libraries, right? Just to recap, we have our financial reports, we have our SaaS reports, index of our SaaS reports, and then we also have those supply chain reports. And so depending on the business, you'd be using the reports that would apply to your industry. And then we also have additional reports for things like CRM, for zone billing, which is our billing automation app. So you can look at charges and subscriptions and ARR, MRR roll forward if you're using zone billing. We have Amazon report libraries. So again, these are the core libraries to help you better understand your NetSuite data. But this can be a starting point. This can be the full kind of project if those are what your reporting requirements are. But we can also support scaling as you continue to optimize and add layers onto what you're reporting on, outside of just what we're doing out of the box. So hopefully this was helpful. I will transition back to our deck and check to make sure that we don't have any questions before we wrap up here. Okay. Actually, I do see one question. Okay, I do see one question on zone billing. So again, zone billing is a zone app that we offer for billing automation. So you can manage subscriptions and complex billing scenarios. We do have a specific zone reporting library to report on that data. We'll bring in subscriptions, we'll bring in charges, we'll bring in all the zone billing records essentially, and then analyze those. And we have, I think, 50 plus pre-built measures to look at things like MRR or ARR roll forward, or retention, gross and net dollar retention, churn statistics. So there's a lot in there if you're a zone billing customer. And I think that was the only question, unless we have any panelists that are able to see any questions coming through any other channels. If not, then I will cycle to our last slide. Here's our contact information. If this looks like a good solution and you want to learn more, here's contact information. Also, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's on LinkedIn or you can find my email on the website. But if you want to take a look at this product and have more of a tailored discussion around your requirements, go through more of a personalized demo and see how it would apply to your business, we're always happy to do that. But thanks for everyone attending today, and have a great rest of your week.